Hello, welcome my friends. So this week I get to do an activity with you and it's a craft and we're going to be drawing and making the picture that goes with our story about Jesus and Zacchaeus. It's from Luke 19, 1-10. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the story by Aaron or a special guest reader, please make sure to go back and watch that video. And if you're ready to start our craft, then please gather your supplies and join us. Thank you. So this is our project we're going to be making today. It is based on the story from the Bible, Luke 19, 1-10, Jesus and Zacchaeus. So Jesus came in and he went and saw Zacchaeus in the tree and he spoke to him and told him to come down. So we're going to make it so when Jesus does, Zacchaeus is able to actually move down the tree and come and speak with Jesus. If you haven't heard the story yet, please make sure to go back and watch that video. And I'm going to walk you through how to create our tree with Zacchaeus, who is sitting up in the tree and then can come down and speak with Jesus. What you will need is paper, and you will need 2 sheets or one large one and one small one. You're going to need a pencil, scissors. You will need some string. It can be yarn, it can be string, and you'll need some coloring supplies. You can use markers, crayons, whatever supplies you have at home to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our big paper. This is our main one, and we're going to start by making the tree. So trees are going to be nice and tall. We do want to make sure we have a branch that comes out in which Zacchaeus can sit on. So starting from the bottom of my paper here, I'm going to draw my line up. So just a little over halfway, and then I'm going to start to make my branch go out. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to make a tree branch that comes out like that. And you can make yours different. I'm going to make the second side of my tree branch just like that. This is the important branch because we want to make sure we have a spot for Zacchaeus to sit. Now we're ready for the other side of our tree. So I'm going to come across just a little bit. I'm going to come down. Just like that. And then I'm going to split my tree one way there, and I can already see my branches here. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to make a second branch that goes right off my paper like that, and another one. And your branches can be however you like. They do not have to match mine. I'm going to make some little lines there. I like to make mine kind of go off the page. Now, if you notice, I didn't make the ends here because that's where we're going to put our leaves for our tree. So I'm going to make some curved lines, just kind of some loopy lines here, kind of look like clouds. And it's just because when all the leaves are together, sometimes they just look like little groups of trees. I'm going to make a couple up here, right around the edge of the tree there. Maybe there's just some over here. I'm going to come to this side. I think I'm going to make a little branch. You can make lots of little branches if you like, little ones. You can make little branches. And again, it's just like this one here. I didn't end it. I'm going to make my little cloud lines. There we go. And I'm going to add a couple on this side. So there is my tree. Now down here, we need the ground for Jesus to stand on. So I'm going to start on this side of my paper and I'm going to go all the way across. But when I get to my tree, I pick up my pencil, use my finger, find my line on the other side, and come across. So there is my ground. And now I'm ready to make my Jesus. And you can make your person however you like. It does not have to look like mine. You can change it up. But I'm going to start with the head. So I'm going to make kind of a circle for his head. And then I often think of Jesus with a beard, but maybe your Jesus in your picture doesn't have one. That's okay. I'm going to use some little fluffy lines for the clouds, just like we did for the trees. A little bit of erasing. And I'm going to give him a little smile. I'm going to give him some circles for the eyes. And I'm also going to make some hair. I'm going to do the hair kind of the same way because I think of it having kind of a curly hair. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. And maybe a little curve in here for his hair. And then I'm ready for the body. Now, in my picture, if we look back here, you'll see I made it so I can't see the arms. So I used a square and 2 triangles, and then another square. You notice also the square is kind of rounded off on the edges. That's just to kind of make it look like it's more draped, but you can choose to make it more squared or round off. So I'm going to start here right underneath his beard. I'm going to come down 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to make the other side, the bottom part, and I'm going to come around and down. Now my grass is behind him, so I do want to do a little erasing there. So I'm going to erase that line, and I'm going to make his arms. And so I'm just going to make kind of a triangle shape here. I've just rounded off that corner. I'm going to do this side as well. So it just kind of looks like his arms are behind him. And back then, they used a lot of times, they used large fabric, and they also used rope to hold those on. So I'm going to make a little line to make it look like my rope, and a little line down, like he's tied a rope around his waist, kind of like a belt. And I'm also going to give him a little shawl fabric here. So I'm going to make kind of 2 zigzag lines there, and I'm going to make a rectangle right below it. Now, you don't have to add these details if you do not want to. But again, this is your picture. You can choose how to add or make it your own. I'm going to make feet. And for his feet, I'm just going to use some little half circles there. 1, 2, and there he is. Now, the next part would be to add color, and I'm going to leave that for you. You could use your markers, you could use crayons, colored pencils, but you could go through and add color. We want to also make Zacchaeus, so I'm going to scoot this to the side just a little bit here, and I'm using a smaller piece of paper, but you could use a big one, but I'm going to use a small one because we're going to cut him out. And I'm going to kind of similar to Jesus here, but a little bit different. I'm going to add a hat to him. So for his, I'm going to start with his head. Again, I'm going to make kind of a circle shape. And I want to make it similar size. So I don't want it too big. It looks like I got it maybe a little too large. So I could erase it or I can turn it over. I'm just going to turn it over. But I want to make similar size. I don't want him to be too much bigger. Because Zacchaeus, part of the reason he was in our tree, because he couldn't see Jesus. And so he went over and climbed the tree because he wanted to be able to see him when he came to speak. So Zacchaeus was a small man, so we want to make sure to make him on the smaller size. So I'm also going to add a hat. I'm going to add a little hat here. I'm going to use kind of a rectangle shape. And you can see the head showing through it. I'm going to erase that. So that's going to be his hat. I'm going to add another little line for the trim, like that. And then I'm going to add his beard. So I'm going to add some curvy lines, kind of like the clouds again, and a little bit on up top. And again, I want to erase that line right there. I'm going to do that. Give him some eyes so you can see. There we go. And I'm going to give him a nice little smile because he's really excited about seeing Jesus. Now I'm ready for his body. So for his body, I'm going to work the very similar way as I did with Jesus here. And I'm going to make a rectangle. So 1, 2 lines and the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and make his feet. And again, I'm just going to use little half circles. 1, 2. Now I do want to make sure that he's a little bit different style than Jesus. So I'm going to change his arms this time. I'm going to make his arms out. 1, 2, using some rectangles. And another rectangle on this side. And you could go ahead and add fingers if you like. I'm just going to add a curved line for his hand. I'm not going to add a whole bunch of details on his hands. So if you can't see that, I try to focus that. There we go. So you can see that. And I'm going to go ahead and give him also kind of a wrap around. So again, I'm going to use my diagonal lines. And it could come all the way off, or you can stop. I'm going to make mine just come all the way across like that. And that allows me also to give him some different colors. So I can make this part one color, and I can make his outfit another color. Now once I'm finished with that, I'll be ready to cut it out. So I would go ahead and color him first, and then you can cut him out. Once you have him cut out, and you have colored your picture, we need to make it so we can attach him here. So I'm going to turn this a little bit so you can see he's actually attached right there with a little strip of paper. And there's also a string, so he's actually stuck on my paper, and he can slide up and down, so he can be up in the tree and then come down to speak with Jesus. So the way we did that, you can see it's taped here on the back. Once we've colored our picture, I'm going to kind of get an idea of where Zacchaeus would be. So I'm going to give him a little cut here. Now mine is not colored, but it gives me an idea. He's going to sit about here in my tree. So I'm going to lift him just a little bit. I'm going to put a little mark. I'm going to test it. So just with him there, I'm going to test it. If he comes down, he's going to land right about there. And so if that's where I want to be, I'm going to lift it again, put another little mark. So if you notice, I've marked two spots, one here and one here. So you could use your scissors, but I found a pencil actually works best as long as it has a nice little tip. I'm going to lift up my paper. You may want to ask your grown-ups for help for this part. I'm going to take it, I'm going to press it down and give it a little twist. And now I have a hole. I'm going to do the same thing up here to this one. I'm going to hold the paper up just a little bit, give it a little press and a twist. So now I have two holes that go all the way through my paper. I'm going to take some string here. And I'm going to kind of measure out my size. That looks about right. I'm going to give it a little cut. Now you could use a piece of tape or you could use glue. If you don't have tape, you could glue it onto the back. I'm going to be using tape today. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it right through there. Now I would wait to do this part until you're all colored. So if you haven't colored, make sure you do that first. I'm going to flip it over. And like I said, you could put a little bit of glue right there, but I'm going to be using a little bit of tape today. You could use Scotch tape. You can use anything that you have handy. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tape on there. That way it doesn't move around. I'm going to turn it back over. And I'm going to pull it. And I have a little extra space just in case I wanted to make sure I had plenty of room. I'm going to put it right through that hole. Then I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to do the same thing I did up there. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on it. And you can just leave these extra pieces. They're not going to hurt anything. You can just leave them hanging there. If you want, you could also trim them off. So then we have our string. Oh, and mine's not quite tight enough, so I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter. I'm just going to tug on that. There we go. I want it to sit pretty well. I don't want it to slide around. Get another little tug. There we go. Oh, there we go. Should kind of bounce back, kind of like a chord on a guitar. So now, how do we get him on here? Well, if we go back to our scrap paper that we used to cut him out, I'm going to cut off a little strip here, just like that. And again, you could use glue or you could use tape. I'm going to use a little bit of tape here, but you could use some glue for this part as well. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to put a little piece of tape on one end, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it over. And what I'm making sure to do when I fold it over though, is I'm leaving that loop. You see my loop there? Because I'm going to actually loop it around my string. So I'm going to take it, put it underneath, and loop it back around. So now I'll put a piece of tape like that to close it. So now this part is attached. So then you can use either your tape and put a piece of tape to attach it to Zacchaeus, or you can take a little glue like I am right here, put a little glue on there, and you can attach them to your paper. So then he can be up in the tree and you can see Jesus from far away. And then when Jesus comes and says, come down and speak with me, he can come down the tree. So again, here's our finished one. So you can see here is my Jesus and here's Zacchaeus. He is up in the tree, he can come down and he can talk with Jesus now. All right, that's all. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you have a wonderful week.